A few months back, a conservative online publisher, I guess that's sort of like what I am, made a joke on Twitter, and we'll show you what the tweet said right here. He was reacting to a union drive at a liberal website called Vox Media, and so he wrote a tweet joking to his own staff at a website called the Federalist. He said, "For your information, FYI, Federalist, first one of you tries to unionize, I swear I'll send you back to the salt mine." Obviously a joke. The reason it's funny is because it's a conservative website not sympathetic to unions, and it was having a good laugh at Vox's expense. Well, so much for a Twitter laugh. The National Labor Relations Board has convicted the Federalist and its publisher of breaking the law by being an anti-union ruffian. Maybe I've got that wording not quite perfect, so now we're joined via Skype from the Washington, D.C. area by the man at the center of the Twitter tussle, Ben Domenech. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate you taking some interest in this, and I hope that it serves as a warning to you of what might happen if you make a joke that offends the wrong people.
Well, I mean, that's the story of my life. Now, did I more or less accurately retell what happened?
Absolutely, you did. And one thing that I do want to add is, in terms of the perspective that I have on all of this, you know, the reality is that I did not believe that in America you would have a situation where if you make a joke and it offends someone who has never worked for you, has never contracted for you, does not know you, lives in a different state from you, that they have the ability to, within a few minutes, file a complaint that can unleash the entire force of the federal government against you as an entity. That's something that I learned because of this. And what really is the case is that anyone who's offended by your joke in this instance can go to the National Labor Relations Board. They can file against you. And the power that they have there is immense. They subpoenaed every email that I've ever exchanged with any of my staffers, going back through all the editorial emails and conversations, confidential ones frequently that we've had with sources and the like, going back ages. They subpoenaed my staffers themselves, even though they were not offended by the joke, to come and testify at their own expense in a different state, to hire their own lawyers at their own expense, because if I were to pay for it, it could be viewed as being coercive. Even though my own staffers filed affidavits saying they were not offended by this joke, they understood it as a joke, they didn't feel threatened by it, the administrative law judge in this case, which is basically a bureaucrat who has the power of a judge without having to actually live under the laws of the land and the Constitution, he found that it was totally irrelevant that my staffers felt this way. That because someone mentally ill, presumably, or perhaps without any sense of humor, could view my joke as being an actual threat, that amounted to the same thing. And I've chosen to fight this, and I want to be clear, because I know that there are a lot of people who have gone up against the speech police in various ways, that the stakes here are much smaller than what they typically face. The National Labor Relations Board just wants me to delete the tweet. They want me to inform my intelligent writers what they already know, which is that they have the freedom to unionize if they would so please, and move on. And the reason that I haven't, and the reason that I've continued to fight this, is because I think it's a question that ought to go to the real courts about the power that we've enabled people to have, regardless of whether they have any standing on the issue, regardless of whether they have any relation to the companies in question. Because I think this is the sort of thing that will happen again, and happen increasingly as people become aware that they can target anybody whose jokes they disagree with these types of ridiculous complaints, ludicrous complaints that should be laughed out of court, as opposed to have God knows how much taxpayer money spent coming after me for a joke tweet that hurt no one.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.